Yes, you're saying? We have a meeting now. Yeah, I totally forgot. Oh, this is Maura calling me. Just 1 second. Hi, Maura. Yes, your order is on the way. Just give me one. This is the bank. Sorry. Maura, let me just pick this call. I'll just get back to you just now. Hello? And you've not approved my invoice? Now what do you want me to do? Man, it's too much. That's how it usually feels when you need help in your business, but you don't know how to hire your first employee. In this video, I'm going to talk you through my top 3 tips for hiring your first employee and ensuring that it is a success. Hello, my name is Kevin Kabu. I'm a co-founder of a digital and creative agency called the Digital Monkeys. We are an award-winning agency with a portfolio of top global and Pan-African brands like Carrefour, Shell, MultiChoice, Weetabix, and Sanlam. I have 10 years of global experience and I've been part of growing a business from zero to a top 5 contender in the industry. And in today's video, I'm just going to talk about how I think you can hire your first employee for success and to help you relieve yourself of some of the issues and enjoy the journey of entrepreneurship. Chances are when you're hiring your first employee, you're bringing them in to take off some of the work that you're doing that's actually related to the core of the business. So what do I mean by this? I want to give you an example. So when I was running my gym called Tuzidi Fitness back in 2016, I was the one who was actually training people on the floor. I was also the one in charge of programming. So the things that my clients were coming to do at the gym and the workouts, that was on me. I was also the one who was taking all the calls, all the sales calls. And I was also the one who was paying all the bills. I was also in charge of the finance. And I was also in charge of the marketing. So what I decided to do at that point is I looked back and I analyzed what it is that I do day to day, what consumes the most time. And I came up with, this is the core function of the business. It's training, because if you're open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., then that is your entire day gone on the floor. So it leaves you very little time to do anything else. And this usually applies a lot to service businesses, and I'm sure many people can relate to this. So the first employee we normally hire is someone who will come and take away part of what is core to the delivery of the service that we are offering or the product that we are offering. Number 1, start with character first and then skill second. It's the absolute worst case kind of scenario when you have someone who you're paying and you don't get along with, and they're relieving you of a key part of the business where you're making money. It's very difficult. And why I think you should start with character first and skill second is because as human beings, we get along or we don't get along because of values. They're just these intrinsic things. Someone's character is usually very limited in terms of change. Like the way someone is in terms of character, it's very difficult to change. Skill, you can always train it. You can always build up someone's skill set. But character, that's a bit more dicey. So I think when you're recruiting your first employee, and that's what I did, start with character, then skills. Skills can always be built up. Because I'll give you my example. The person who I hired at the gym came in to do a part of the shift. So remember, we're open from 5:30 in the morning all the way until 8 p.m. I was doing all that alone. So they were coming in to help me. So we were doing half and half. So I'd do the evening shift on some days, and some days I'd do the morning shift, and she'd do the evening shift sometimes and the morning shift sometimes. So it's also a bit easier when the person who you get in, because you guys are similar in character, it's easier for the clients, especially in a service business, to relate to someone who they are already familiar with in terms of character, because there's some clients who'll be like, I don't want to work with anyone else. I just want to work with you. And that can be a bit difficult when you're trying to grow your business or just getting a first employee in. So those are the 2 reasons where I'd say start with character first, then skill second. The first reason is it's easier to work with someone who you get along with, because people who have different characters tend to butt heads, and that's usually a big issue, and there's no need to bring in someone who you don't like. And secondly, it'll make it a bit easier for your clients to adapt to someone who's more similar to you. So that's number one. Number two, follow some form of process, a structured process. What do I mean by this? When it comes to recruiting, there are a few things. Basically, there's the role that this person is coming to play. Then what you do is you distribute that role. So it's called sourcing. You source for people. Then you select. So there's a screening process. There's an interview process, both the actual interview on the date and a reference interview. And then the third thing is you sell them. So why should they come and join you? So the first three are, can I get the best person to come in? And then the last one is, why should I join you? So having this form of structure, it really helps in guiding and evaluating different candidates. You have a defined role for the people who you're trying to come in. Then what you're doing is you're trying to look at, okay, this is the same kinds of questions I'm asking each person who comes in for an interview so that I can be able to compare and contrast. So you're following something structured to get you all the way to the end. So what I recommend, it's a bit scientific, but I'll just drop it here and hopefully we can pick it up. I think I'll find a way to share like a template around this. So the few scientific things that have come up is when you're trying to select someone or shortlisting the person, you need to do a capability assessment. So what the thing that they're coming to do that you've already mapped out, can you test that to see how they'll perform? So that's one. The second one is cognitive ability. So can they be able to think through and solve problems with the kind of constraints that they have? Another one is a structured interview. This is very important. So a structured interview basically just asks the same set of questions for each candidate who comes through the door. And then the last one is a reference interview that is also structured, that asks the same questions to another party to kind of validate what this person has said when you guys were together, and is it true based on someone else's experience. Kind of a tip here, when you're doing a reference interview, don't ask them for a reference. So we follow something called the Who interview, which has a section which asks the candidates who you're interviewing, who did you work with? Give me your boss's name. So go through each and every boss, ask them for the contacts, and then reach out to them. Because sometimes, you know how this game is played, someone will give you a reference of a friend, and then you're like, okay, this friend says something stellar, then they come into the business, and since this is the first employee, you don't need that. So some of these frameworks are there to guide. So a structured interview process where you map out the role, number one. Number two is when you're shortlisting, there's some specific criteria you're using. Are they capable? A capability assessment. Are they able to think? Are they able to show their history in a structured manner, asking the same questions for each and every role that they've had before? If they've not had many, it's fine. You can still get to speak to their lecturers. If it's an intern, it doesn't need to be that thorough. But I'll link everything in the resources so that it can be a nice guide when it comes to having a structured process. And the last thing when it comes to hiring your first employee is have some form of training program. And I'm not talking about something too deep, but it's something that will show the person who's coming on board to take away this chunk of work. Because usually when it's the first employee, remember, they're coming to support us with what we are currently doing. So it's probably very key to the delivery of the offer that you have. So having some form of training program. And when I say that, I'll just give you a framework that I got from Alex Homozy. And it's basically document, demonstrate, and then duplicate. What do I mean by this? Document, just have a checklist of each and every item that you do. For example, when I was on the floor in the gym, it would be like, when someone walks in, say hello, checklist item number 1. Checklist item number 2, how you feeling? Checklist item number 3, okay, this is the program for the day. Checklist number 4, start with the warm-up. Checklist number 5, this is the workouts. Then you can have a library of all workouts and how they're executed. This is what a lunch looks like. this is what a back squat looks like. Like having some form of documentation that is simple enough, like step by step, that walks someone through each and every thing that they need to do to achieve what it is that you're trying to do within the specific role. Then demonstrate it. So have them watch you do the thing that they're coming in to do. So for me, it would be sit there and observe. Here I am. This is my interaction. We always start with a warm-up. We move into our core exercise. We move into the strength side. We do power. Then we finish with cardiovascular. I know I've botched it because that's not what it used to be, but something like that. So you duplicate it and then you compare it to that checklist. So you're like, okay, I've followed this checklist and then I'm showing the checklist in action. And the third thing is duplicate. Duplicate just means ask them to do it in front of you and just take notes. Do this repetitively up until the point where you have this semblance of what it is that you're trying to achieve as an objective when they're coming in and how they're doing it on the floor. But before we get there, I think I've gone a bit too far. Just basically having some form of training material where you've documented the steps, you're demonstrating it to them, and then they duplicate it in front of you. This really helps to get this first employee off the ground because they're coming in to relieve you of some work. So you'd rather put that upfront time into getting that system up and ready. So those are the three things I think are important when it comes to recruiting your first employee. Start with character first and then skill second. Have a process which you follow. So it would be defining the role that they're coming in to do. Then sourcing, so putting out the job ad or asking a friend for a referral or posting in your WhatsApp group. Then shortlisting, where you kind of screen for some things. A few things you could screen for are capability. So how will they perform on a sample task that is like the one that you're bringing them in to do. A cognitive test for problem solving, and a structured interview that asks the same questions that enables you to compare them. And then lastly, have some training material. Basically just document what you do in that specific role day to day. Then second is demonstrate it to them so that you can see whether this checklist is in line with the actual thing that you do. And then lastly is duplicate, ask them to do it in front of you. That brings us to the end of this episode. By the way, if you've ever been in that position where you're like, I'm done with this business, before you make that decision, please watch this episode here. It talks about 3 books that can help you in terms of not quitting your business. And subscribe, follow, share. Thank you.